Finally today, OSU Extension beef cattle specialist Dr. Dave Lalman is visiting with SUNUP's Elizabeth Hokett about some cost-saving options for the new year.
We're here now with Dave Lalman, our OSU Extension beef cattle specialist, continuing our year-end wrap-up. And so Dave, last year you were on talking about carcass weights and mature weights. Can you give us an update on kind of what we've seen this past year versus last year?
Sure. The interesting thing is that for, more than 50 years, carcass weights have been increasing about 5 pounds per year, and that's what I mentioned last year. Along with that, the pressure for increased growth capability in the cattle industry and so on, we get increased cow weights. And we think average cow weight in the country is somewhere around 1,300 pounds today. And, of course, in our research program here, that's a concern because increased cow weight means you can run fewer of those cows on the same land base. But I think in terms of carcass weight, I'm confident that we're going to blow that 5 pounds out of the water this year. And actually that's a phrase I borrowed from Dr. Glenn Dolezal, a legendary meat scientist, and he made that statement here recently in just a fantastic presentation.
Yeah. So why is that we're seeing that increase?
Now that's a good question and really interesting one. So last year we talked about this, the why, and it continues today. So just recently, cost of gain in the feed yard, I'd say if we average steer and heifer cost of gain, it's about $1.09 for each 1 pound of additional weight gain, okay? The finished cattle are bringing somewhere in the range of about $2.20. So if my cattle in the feed yard are still gaining, let's say 3 pounds a day, which is not a lot, but at the end of the feeding period, their gain is going to decline a little bit. So we'll just say they're gaining 3 pounds a day times the $1.11 margin between cost and value, and you leave those cattle in the feed yard for 45 more days, you're talking about $150 more money made.
Yeah.
And so that's what's driving it. We have cheap grain, okay, and we have really high cattle prices. So we're going to keep making cattle bigger as long, eventually this will change, right? Cattle prices will come down, corn price will go up, and that dynamic will change. But that's where we're at today.
So how do the packing plants feel about this? Is there any kind of tension between that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the answer is yes, the packing plants, it's more efficient for them. One of the things Dr. Dolezal mentioned in his presentation is that they can process a 1,000-pound carcass at the same chain speed they can process a 600-pound carcass. So, and guess which one of those puts more meat in the box?
The 1,000-pound.
Absolutely. And so it's much more efficient for them. So, that is going to continue.
And this year we've seen a lot of increases in cattle prices, which has been a really good news for producers. Do we see that going into the new year?
Yeah, Dr. Peel seems to think that that's going to last for a good while. Now, we don't know exactly when things will change, but they will eventually. And, we need to be preparing for that case. That's interesting because it used to take 3 to 4 calves sold at the time of weaning to pay for one good quality bred replacement heifer. Today, it only takes about 2 calves sold to pay for a good quality replacement heifer.
So a lot of good news for the cattle industry this year, and we'll hope to see that into the next year as well.
We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, and it's a lot of fun to be working, to try to resolve some of those antagonisms.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Absolutely.